Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're not just looking at a piece of history, we're listening for one. We're on the hunt for a ghost, really. A voice that was silenced before we ever had the tech to save it. It's an echo from our planet's very, very recent past, and its story forces us to ask, what does it mean to lose something forever?
So let's just dive right into the central mystery here. This is the question that just haunts everybody. We can see this animal, right? We have these incredible, grainy, silent black and white films of the last thylacine pacing its enclosure. We can see its strange, stiff walk, its famous stripes, the almost unbelievable way its jaw could open. But there's this profound silence that hangs over all those images. What sound is supposed to be there? A growl? A bark? A cry? That absence, well, that's the mystery we're here to unravel.
So this is the thylacine, or as most of us know it, the Tasmanian tiger. But it wasn't a tiger at all. It was the world's largest carnivorous marsupial. I mean, think about that. A totally unique branch of evolution. It had a pouch, like a kangaroo, but it was an apex predator, like a wolf. For thousands of years, its voice was a key part of the sound of Tasmania. But that sound just vanished before a single microphone ever got near it. And its silence isn't just an empty space, it's a void, a missing piece of the world's natural symphony.
So where do you even start when you're looking for a sound that literally doesn't exist anymore? You can't just go out in the woods with a recorder. You have to become a kind of acoustic detective. You gotta sift through these fragile, fading echoes left behind in human memory, digging through dusty archives, old letters, and the stories of people who heard something that we never will.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. As these acoustic detectives gather clues, they don't find one clear answer. They find a puzzle. There's no single consistent description. Some people said it was a sharp, high-pitched yelp. Others described a guttural cough or a bark. So why the difference? Well, maybe the thylacine had a whole range of sounds, A different call for hunting, for warning off a rival, or calling to its young. These fragmented reports just paint this tantalizing, almost dreamlike picture of this voice we've lost.
And this is where the abstract search becomes deeply personal, and honestly, pretty heartbreaking. We have stories passed down through generations. Imagine this, a woman remembering her grandmother's story of living near the zoo in Hobart. And her memory wasn't of some fierce predator, but of a lonely, sad sound that carried on the night air, the last of its kind, crying all night. Then you contrast that with the ancient knowledge of the Tasmanian Aboriginal people. In their stories, the thylacine wasn't a pest, it was Corinna, the brave one. It was respected, especially compared to the Tasmanian devil, which they called Taraba, the nasty one. These stories give that silence a real, tragic weight. To really understand why we're left with just these ghostly echoes, we have to face the animal's tragic history. This wasn't a species that just slowly faded away because the world changed. No, this was a rapid, targeted, systematic extermination driven by fear, bad information, and cold hard cash. Its voice was deliberately silenced. And the speed of it all is just horrifying. I mean, look at this timeline. For thousands of years, the thylacine is Tasmania's top predator. Then, 1803, European settlers arrive. Less than 30 years later, the first bounties are offered. By 1888, the government itself is paying people to kill them. And less than 50 years after that, the last known individual, Benjamin, dies of exposure on a cold concrete floor in a zoo. In just 133 years, a blink of an eye in evolutionary time, the species was gone. The official declaration in 1986, that was just a formality, a post-mortem on a death we caused. £1. That was the price the Tasmanian government officially put on the head of an adult thylacine back in 1888. 50 pence for a pup. Now, to put that in perspective, for a farm laborer back then, £1 was more than a week's wages. This bounty effectively weaponized the public against the animal. It was branded an economy-wrecking sheep killer, a claim, by the way, that modern science has pretty much debunked. They were probably scapegoats. But the myth was powerful, and a war was declared, with traps, guns, and poison. So, the crucial point is this. The thylacine silence isn't some romantic mystery of nature. It's an indictment. It is the direct result of a calculated human campaign fueled by fear and greed. The animal was systematically hunted. Its home was destroyed, its food disappeared, and in the end, it was completely erased. The silence we're now so desperately trying to fill is a silence we ourselves created.
Now, this quest to fill a human-made silence, it's not unique to the thylacine. Turns out, it connects to a much broader, much older scientific pursuit, the attempt to hear the sounds of our deep past, even the voices of our own extinct human relatives. It's built on the exact same challenge. How do you hear a voice when the speaker is long, long gone?
This field is sometimes called paleoacoustics, and this slide just lays it out perfectly. On one hand, you've got the Thylacine, a mystery from modern history. Its voice disappeared just decades ago. On the other hand, you have Neanderthals, a puzzle from deep time. Their voices fell silent over 40,000 years ago. Both of these quests rely on piecing together clues from a silent record, one from living memory, the other from fossilized bone.
So how in the world do you tackle a 40,000-year-old silence? Well, through this amazing mix of genetics and high-tech imaging. Genetically, we found that Neanderthals had the FOXP2 gene, which in us is absolutely critical for speech and language. Then anatomically, scientists used these incredibly detailed micro-CT scans on fossilized Neanderthal hyoid bones. That's the little U-shaped bone in your neck that basically supports your voice box. Their analysis showed that the bone was shaped and used in almost the exact same way as ours. The conclusion is just stunning. The basic building blocks for modern, complex speech were already there. They could almost certainly speak.
Okay, but what if we could go beyond anatomical clues and these faded anecdotes? Fossils and memories can tell us if a creature could make a sound, but they can't tell us what that sound was. Today, though, a revolutionary new tool is emerging that promises to fill the silence with more than just educated guesses. And that tool is artificial intelligence.
AI audio synthesis is a total game changer. Think of it like this. Imagine a musician who listens to every single song by an artist. I mean, every song. They learn the style, the chord changes, the vocal tics, until they can write a brand new song that sounds just like the artist made it themselves. AI does the exact same thing with sound, learning all the deep patterns to generate totally new, hyper-realistic audio.
So how would this work for the Thylacine? Well, first you'd gather every recording you can find of its closest living relatives, Tasmanian devils, numbats, quolls. That's your data. Then you train a special AI model called a GAN. The simplest way to think of a GAN is like a competition between two AIs. One is a forger, trying to make a fake sound, and the other is a detective, trying to spot the fake. They go back and forth thousands of times, and both get crazy good at their jobs. The result is an AI that can make incredibly convincing new sounds. You could then refine those sounds using those old eyewitness accounts, prompting it for a high-pitched yelp or a repeated coughing sound to create a data-driven best guess of that lost voice.
And look, this isn't just some cool science experiment. This tech has profound, real-world uses. For filmmakers, it's an ethical way to create rich, natural soundscapes without bugging actual animals. For teachers, it can bring ancient worlds to life. And for conservationists, it's a powerful new tool. You could use AI to generate the sound of a perfectly healthy coral reef and then use that to listen for problems in a real reef. It just opens up so many new ways to understand and protect our planet.
So, creating an AI echo of the Thylacine's voice is one incredible challenge. But what if an echo isn't enough? What if we could move beyond recreating the sound and recreate the singer? This is where science fiction starts to become a real audacious scientific goal: de-extinction.
This quote from author David Owen just nails it. The Thylacine itself was a contrary phenomenon. Some saw it as shy, others as a vicious killer. And the effort to bring it back is just as divisive. It's not a simple question of, can we anymore? It's a much deeper, messier question of, should we? And it touches on huge ethical and ecological questions about our role in the natural world.
The scientific hurdles are just staggering. There's a project right now using DNA from a thylacine pup that's been sitting in a jar of alcohol since 1866. But that DNA is like a book that's been shredded into millions of tiny pieces and then left out in the rain for over a century. The goal is to painstakingly tape that genetic book back together. But even if they pull it off, it raises the ultimate question. What have you actually made? You might have the physical animal, but a huge part of what makes an animal what it is, how it hunts, how it raises its young, is culture, its learned behavior. A clone born in a lab would be a creature without a history, a genetic ghost.
And that's the heart of it, right there. With one hand, we caused this extinction using simple traps and guns. Now, with the other hand, we're trying to reverse it with our most advanced technologies, gene editing, artificial wombs, AI. It's an incredible display of human ingenuity, sure, but it's also a profound admission of just how badly we failed. We're trying to use technology to atone for an ecological sin, to reverse a silence that we forced on the world.
So in the end, the story of the Thylacine, its tragic death, its ghostly voice, and our wild quest to bring it back, it really serves as a powerful mirror.
It forces us to look away from the past for a second and focus on right now and on the future. We're fascinated by resurrecting the voices we've lost. But what are we doing today to protect the chorus that still fills our world? The songs of the birds outside, the calls of frogs in a marsh, the hum of a world still teeming with life. What will we do to make sure those voices don't become the next ghosts we have to hunt?